Well, I'm glad it hasn't caused you to rage quit yet.
Yeah.
Uh, as we know, there are games that are played that just destroy everyone around them, which
Mhm.
is my attempt at a half-assed transition to our what I would call our first serious movie slash media item of the day.
Yes. Yeah, the man in the iron mask, um, which has a very interesting history, because I don't know about you, DB, but I remember when this movie came out, and I want to say it was Leonardo DiCaprio's first movie after Titanic, and I want to say Titanic was still in the theaters when this movie came out,
Hmm.
and and I immediately prejudiced me against this movie because like
Right,
'cause-
well, that was peak Leo mania, right?
oh
So,
yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, well, I mean, yeah, you were around during that time. I mean, how many girls at your school were just like totally in love with the guy?
I'll admit that never really came up in conversation with anybody, but I knew it as like a reputational thing. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that's why they kept Titanic in theaters for like a month, or excuse me,
right.
for a year. I'd say a year.
Yeah, long time, yeah. But yeah, I mean, when I was in school, I mean, there was hardly a girl that I went to school with who didn't have pictures of Leonardo DiCaprio in her locker. Like, just almost every single one of them had that was the case. And and as such, the marketing for this movie was all centered around him, obviously.
Mm.
And so, and by the way, I didn't know that this movie was a Three Musketeers movie until all the girls that went and saw Titanic went and saw this movie, and they were like, "Oh, it's a Three Musketeers movie." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I would have
Oh,
liked to have known that beforehand.
right, you were like, wait, that actually sounds somewhat interesting.
Yeah, and not just the Three Musketeers, but the Three Musketeers as old guys.
Right. So I will admit, I'm not a Three Musketeers expert. Um,
Yeah.
like I couldn't name any of them in advance, but the movie actually does a really nice job of setting up who's who at the zoo early on. So
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah.
they seem to understand that that possible downside.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and to be fair, like I think this was like the first Three Musketeers movie that they had made since like the Disney one that they did in the 90s with it was with Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, uh Chris O'Donnell, Tim Curry played the villain in that movie. Uh,
That sounds very familiar. I'm sure I saw that one, and I think I even at a few points while watching this wondered if it was the same movie before concluding it couldn't possibly be.
yeah, yeah. Although part of me wonders if it wasn't in the same continuity. I don't think it is. Um, but yeah, so the three so this movie takes place. I can't remember, did they say what year it took place in? It was like
No, but we know that it takes place before the reign of Louis the 14th, I believe.
right, yeah. Um and yeah, Louis the 14th is played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Although he's actually playing dual roles.
Yeah.
Um
By the way, we're going to do spoilers on this one because it is an old movie, and it's kind of hard to talk about the premise of this movie without getting into spoilers.
right.
If you want a quick, bite-sized opinion, this is a worthwhile film to watch
Mhm.
uh, because it's got some really nice performances, and it's just a movie like it takes itself refreshingly seriously, is the way I'll
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it tonally and everything, it kind of reminded me of another movie that came out around the same time, The Mask of Zorro, which might be another movie we want to review at some point. Kind of a similar premise and similar vibe to it. But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I mean there are parts of it that were for me that were kind of like okay, I will say some of the dialogue was a little cheesy in places, but
Right. I would say it's like very theatrical and not like movie theatrical, more like
yeah.
um, theater kid theatrical.
Yeah, it's well, it was written in. I didn't realize this until now, but it was written and directed by Randall Wallace,
Hmm.
who's the writer and director of We Were Soldiers, and he was also the writer on Braveheart. So
Okay, that tracks.
yeah, but yeah, no, I mean it's a good movie. I dare say probably one of, I mean, although granted, I've only seen two movies with the Three Musketeers, so definitely the better Three Musketeers movie. Um, but yeah, no, definitely check it out. Like all of our movies that we're reviewing tonight, it's on Tubi. So, um,
Yep. You
okay,
just have to
so
suffer through a few ads to watch it.
yes, yeah. Okay, so spoilers. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Louis the 14th. He's a young king, but he's very cruel and really just doesn't care about anyone except himself. And then we are introduced or reintroduced, depending on your perspective, to the Three Musketeers, who are all retired from being musketeers. And for those of you who don't know, the musketeers were the king's bodyguards.
Right.
Um,
And this the series is like focused on swashbuckling and adventure and what have you.
right. Alexander Dumas was the creator and the author of all the books. I don't know. I don't know how many of them he wrote. He wrote quite a few of them. But yeah, so they're all retired, and we meet Porthos, who is played by the only actor in there who's actually French.
Sidebar: it was just funny, like hilarious to me how you had like nobody had an agreed upon accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Gerard Depardieu as Porthos, who's
Yeah.
kind of like he kind of gets the least to do in this movie. He's kind of the comic relief.
Yeah, which that's kind of how he is with the series. Yeah, he's the lovable drunk and
Womanizer.
womanizer.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, then we meet Aramis, who is played by Jeremy Irons, and he's the religious one, deeply devout Catholic. He's left, he's not a musketeer anymore, and he's now being joined the priesthood. And then we also meet D'Artagnan, who in the first Three Musketeers, he's the one who's like a really young guy, and he wants to join the Musketeers, and that's when he meets the Three Musketeers and joins them on their adventures. But he's now the captain of the Musketeers, and he shows up because the king wants to speak with Aramis, and the king tells Aramis that he wants to find the general of the Jesuits. And for those of you who aren't familiar with like history, like Catholic history or Christian history, anything like that, the Jesuits were basically. I had a history teacher in high school basically compare them to like the special forces. They're like the special forces for the Catholic Church. Um,
That tracks. Like it was basically like they were like a counter reformational thing.
right. Yeah. And yeah, so Louis wants Aramis to find the general of the Jesuits because they don't, he doesn't know who he is, but he wants him to find the general and kill him. Then later on, we meet or we re-meet Athos, who is played by John Malkovich.
Who, John Malkovich is a fine actor, but he might have been like one of the least fitting actors in the whole movie.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that. Yeah. But yeah, he's there with his son Raoul, and his son is about to become a musketeer, and he's about to propose to his lady love, Christine. And of course, they're all out there at Versailles, where the king's having this like little shindig. But Christine catches the king's eye, and the king's like, okay, I want her. Even though he can have any woman in the kingdom, he wants that woman. He wants,
Right. It has to be her.
It has to be her. And but then I don't know if this is really the best comparison, but this is the only best one I can come up with. King Louis basically pulls a King David.
I had the same thought on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, he basically they're very vague about what the war is, I think, as I recall.
Yeah, I want to say it was Netherlands, I think.
That sounds right, like the Low Countries. Like the French were always trying to stir up troubles there.
Yeah. The king sends Raoul off to the front in the Netherlands so that he can seduce Christine. Athos hears about it from D'Artagnan, and Athos is rightfully ticked off. And then Raoul gets killed in a battle, and Athos is angry, and he goes and tries to kill the king, but D'Artagnan stops him. And then from there, Aramis sets up a meeting with all four of them, with Athos, Porthos, and D'Artagnan. And he admits that Aramis is actually the Jesuit general who's been acting against the king. And he tells him that he's got a plan to overthrow the king and replace him with someone else.
Right. You go, how would you do that? Somebody's sure to notice. Like, you see,
Yes.
the king had a good twin brother.
Yes. And he is the man in the iron mask.
Title drop.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so to go back a little bit, Leonardo DiCaprio, his performance as King Louis kind of didn't feel right because he was the only one besides John Malkovich who wasn't doing some sort of accent. Like most people were kind of going for like that sort of affected generic British accent, I guess is how I'd put it.
Yeah.
John Malkovich just kind of sounded like himself, but talking like 10% more fancy. Leo just literally like sounded like himself. Like he sounded like he'd just come off the boat from Titanic.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So it's like I was just very unimpressed by his performance as King Louis. Then you get to him as his brother. And man, you just felt so bad for him.
Yeah, he was dealt a really bad hand. Yeah.
Because basically they didn't kill him, but that would have almost been kinder than what they actually did to him.
Yeah, they put his head in an iron mask and just left him like that. Yeah.
They just shoved him in a prison somewhere to die.
Yeah. And for those of you who are wondering, it's kind of loosely based on a true story. So there was a man who wore an iron mask who was in the Bastille right around this time period, and nobody knew who he was or where he came from. And that's I assume that's where Alexander Dumas got the idea for the story. But yeah, it's yeah, you feel bad for the guy because he's just like he hasn't seen sunlight in ages, so he hasn't been getting his vitamin D.
Right, he was just the moans of pain that he produces whenever he's in the mask are just heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
So Leo definitely started impressing me as soon as he was playing the twin.
Yeah. And so basically the whole plan is they basically swap brothers. They take
that's their objective, at least.
That's the objective.
Right. We have an unworthy king. How do we get a worthy king? Oh, we'll swap him out for the spare king.
Right. And of course, Athos isn't too happy with that plan because he wants to be like Robespierre and guillotines and off with their heads But but yeah, then and of course the other part of it too is with D'Artagnan. who's played by Gabriel Byrne, who I've seen him in quite a few movies. Most people remember him from The Usual Suspects, uh, but he's very protective of the king, and to the point where, like, he doesn't go along with the other Musketeers' plan, and you really, you don't find out until the end of the movie why that is.
Which, another layer of spoiler. Yeah, we'll just let people find that out if they decide to go watch it.
Right.
It
Yeah.
it seemed like it was pretty well set up,
Yeah.
and it's like it's always interesting when you have these monarchy situations where you have the person who is like loyal to the idea of the king, even if the current king isn't worthy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this story I heard of a samurai who received an order, refused to carry it out, and when he was asked to account for himself, his response was basically, "Well, the order was unworthy of you, so I know you must not have sent it."
Uh,
It, it's exactly that sort of struggle.
yeah. 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 But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say this is a decent movie to watch, especially if you're a history nut and you like, movies like this, and you're into swashbuckling adventures type stories. Yeah.
Yep. I would say, like, we compared it earlier to the 90s Zorro movies. They are
Yeah.
definitely less fun than those.
Yeah.
Or it's definitely less fun. Like it's got more drama and higher stakes.
Right. Yeah. And it does get dark in a few places.
Yeah, there might be a few self deletions over the course of the movie.
Yeah. And one attempted one, which is kind of done for comedy.
Yeah, that and poor Porthos.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, go check it out on Tubi.